Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So today we would like to present about volumetric analysis in acid-base titration, which is the application is to determine the presence of acid in acid rain. So, for the first part of this presentation, I would like to tell you guys about the introduction of volumetric analysis. What is volumetric analysis? Volumetric analysis is a method in quantitative chemical analysis in which the amount of substance is determined by the measurement of the volume that the substances occupies. Next, volumetric analysis is also commonly used to ascertain a non-reactant unknown concentration. And last but not least, it is also a reliable technique that can be used for our chosen topic, which is to determine the presence of acid in acid rain. So for the next slide, which is the introduction of acid-base titration. What is acid-base titration? Acid-base titration are usually used to find the amount of an acidic or basic substance through acid-base titration. The analyte, which is the titrant, is the solution with an unknown molarity. The reagent, which is a titrant, is the solution with a known molarity that will react with the analyte. At the end point of the reaction, it will be determined by using an indicator such as like methyl orange, methyl red, and others. So next, there are 4 types of acid-base titration, which is the first one is the titration of strong acid with strong base. Second is titration of strong acid with weak base. Third is the titration of weak acid and strong base. And last is titration of weak acid with weak base. So for the last part of the introduction of acid-base titration, there are a few basic components that are very important that you guys need to know for the acid-base titration procedure. The first one is the titrant, second one is the analyte, third is a burette, fourth is a conical flask, fifth a retort stand, and last is a white tire.
So now we are on the theory of acid-base titration in acid rain. So what is acid-base titration? How do we apply it in acid rain? Basically, acid-base titration is a quantitative analytical procedure used to determine the concentration of an unknown acid or base solution by neutralizing it with a standard solution of known concentration. This process involves a chemical reaction between an acid and a base, typically resulting in the formation of water and a salt. So now I would like to show you how do we apply the theory into our objective. Here is the general neutralization reaction between acid and base to form the salt and water. Generally, the primary acid in a rain is a sulfuric acid and nitric acid. By titrating between the acid rain that contain of pH indicator, which phenolphthalein and sodium hydroxide, we can detect the presence of sulfuric acid by changing the colorless to pink in the acid rain container, which in a conical flask.
So now, let's move on to the methodology for determining the presence of acid in rainwater using volumetric analysis through titration. The process begins with the collection of samples. Rainwater samples are gathered from various locations using clean, non-reactive containers to avoid contamination. Once collected, the samples are filtered to remove any particulate matter and stored in clean, labeled containers until analysis. The appropriate acid-base titration method is selected, typically employing a strong base like sodium hydroxide to titrate the unknown acid in the rainwater. A standard sodium hydroxide solution of known concentration is prepared and standardized using a primary standard to ensure accuracy. For the titration setup, the titrant is measured and dispensed with a burette and the rainwater sample is placed in a conical flask with a few drops of an appropriate indicator such as phenolphthalein or bromothymol blue. During the titration, the titrant is slowly added to the sample while swirling the flask and indicator's color change is observed, indicating the titration endpoint and the neutralization of the acid. The acid concentration in the rainwater is calculated using the volume of titrant at the endpoint, which is volume of titrant times concentration of titrant divided by volume of sample. To ensure accuracy, the titration is repeated and the results are averaged. The acidity levels across samples are compared to assess acid rain pollution. Potential sources of acid rain are identified and measures to reduce atmospheric pollutants are recommended. Finally, a detailed report is prepared, including the methodology, results, conclusion, and environmental protection recommendations based on the findings.
And you basically want to carry on until you get a rosy pink. So if we carry on,
It's only a 3-minute song.
and you'll see that the pink stays longer the further we go. So you carry on. So you want the rosy pink to stay.
Okay, so here are the data and results of the experiment that we have conducted to determine the presence of acid in acid rain using the acid-base titration. So keep in mind that the titration are repeated until the different volume of acid is in the range of 0.30 for 3 experiment. Hence, that's why we use 3 trials. So the first trial we only use 0.2 ml of NaOH, and for the second trial we only use 0.4 of NaOH, and for the third trial we only use 0.1 of NaOH or sodium hydroxide. So the difference between the highest and lowest volume of sodium hydroxide used is 20.4 ml minus 20.1 ml equals to 0.3 ml, which is within the acceptable range, which is the 0.30 ml. So by adding all of the volume that we have get and divide it by 3, we get the average volume of NaOH, which is 20.23 ml or 0.02023 liter. And for the concentration of the NaOH that we use is 0.1 molar, and the volume of acid rain sample is 50 milliliter or 0.050 liter. Okay, now we are going to calculate the acidity using the titration formula, which is concentration of acid equals to concentration of base times volume of base over volume of acid. Okay, so from the experiment, we know that the concentration of base is 0.1 molar times with volume of base is 0.02023 liter over the volume of acid, which is 0.050 liter. So if you put it in your calculator or you can count it manually, the final answer we get is 0.4046 molar. So the concentration of acidic component in the acid rain and sample is determined to be 0.046 molar. Repeated titration with consistent result within the acceptable range confirm the accuracy of the measurement. This indicate the presence and strength of acid in the acid rain, providing insights into its potential environmental impact. Okay.
To summarize, volumetric analysis, specifically acid-base titration, is essential for determining the presence of acid in acid rain. By neutralizing an unknown acid with a standard base, this method precisely quantifies acid concentration. Key steps include sample collection, preparation, titration setup, and endpoint observation. The measured acid concentration of 0.04 moles per liter confirms the rainwater acidity, indicating significant influence from pollutants like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides. This information is crucial for understanding environmental impacts such as harm to ecosystem and infrastructure. Overall, acid-base titration is a vital tool in environmental chemistry for monitoring and addressing the effects of acid rain